Hello and welcome to Expert Link and me, David Ford, and another word from the street. And this time I want to be talking about drugs, drugs and drugs. It's all drugs. So I'm going to put some caveats on this. The first thing is that I don't own the monopoly of the truth. Expert Link don't have a monopoly on the truth. What we do have is a wealth of wisdom that we're sharing with you. And actually that wisdom is drawn from a network of people around the country. We've got hundreds of people in our network. We've got a national advisory panel that covers from the north all the way down to the south, the length and breadth of the country, if you like. And we've got a board, and we sit in a couple of other groups as well, where it's lived experience of issues around multiple disadvantage. So, and the other thing is actually when if we're talking about drugs and addiction now, what we need to do is recognise that in the research that we did, published research that we did, that over 85% of those caught up in multiple disadvantage cited some sort of childhood trauma as their, the fire, if you like, the thing that started up all of their problems, or where issues originated from. And what often happens is that addiction comes from when people are caught up in trauma and they find something to manage the trauma and the shit that's going on inside their head, which can be really painful, by the way. And then, of course, that leads to using alcohol and drugs and stuff like that, which is something that they've found to help not good. But it's a place to come from when we talk about addiction. So drugs. There's three things for me. The first thing is around why people are leaving accommodation. The second is around the changes in the drug industry and market, if you like. And then thirdly, about what we're doing about it. So a lot of the guys who are chronic rough sleepers have moved into accommodation, thankfully, and well done again to all of those amazing people who've done some incredible work 24/7 getting people off the streets. There are still about 1,000 people left out on the streets, but there are loads of people who are leaving their accommodation, and they're leaving it often to because the addiction needs servicing. It needs something, and so they're often having to leave for that. I had a call at the weekend from someone who was with a couple of guys who were begging on the streets. They said that they had accommodation but weren't going to prefer to be on the streets. Actually, they probably don't prefer to be on the streets. The addiction absolutely needs to be on the street because that's the way that they found that's the way that it's found to fund itself. Get that person begging and then we'll get a hit. So that's the addiction keeping people out, and the addiction keeping or getting people to leave accommodation often. So generalisation, I know, but it's something that's absolutely true. And the other thing is how the drug market is changing. And so the drug market at the moment is changing quite a lot. The supply isn't getting into the country, and this is a challenge because there's a couple of things that happen. Well, there's lots of things that happen, but one of the couple of things that happen is that the drugs tend to get chopped, chopped and cut down and stuff like that, so that they're becoming weaker and weaker. That's the first thing, which is going to be a problem later. Well, it's a problem now because you don't know what people are cutting it with. And the second thing is when supply dries out, people start to move to other stuff. So here's a good example. Spice. China. Supply's dried up. What happens? People are moving to heroin. These are the stories that we're hearing from people on the streets who are moving from spice into heroin because the spice has dried up. This is not good. This is really, really not good. One of the other things I want to talk about is prescribing. So I know there's some great services out there and great local authorities doing some great work. However, one of the challenges that we have is about prescribing alternatives, so methadone and stuff like that, and getting people into support for their drug and alcohol issues. One of the challenges is that the normal assessment route that they go, people go through assessments, they go to doctors, they go through all of that sort of stuff, and it goes through quite a long process to get to the place where, and part of it is about making sure that person is committed to that program of becoming unaddicted, if you like, or program of recovery. Right now the driver is lack of drugs, right, and so there's a real need to get people into that recovery process. but actually the recovery process is quite a challenging one to get into. So people are having to go through all of these hoops and jumps still to get into recovery. But actually what happens is during that time when they've perhaps lost their drugs, they're trying to join a program, rather than getting quickly reassessed and get onto a script, they're going through and having to see doctors. And by the way, doctors aren't always doing face-to-faces now, so they're having to go through this process. By the time they got to the end of that process, they may well have found something else, i.e. shifted from spice to heroin to, fulfill the addiction, or the addiction's found that. This is not good news. We need to be rapid assessing people across the country and getting them onto scripts. And the final thing, I guess, is around general awareness. So naloxone is readily available, but there isn't, which is something for counteracts the effects of an opioid. If you overdose, you can take naloxone and it'll help overcome the overdose. So this is really, really important, guys. This is massively important. We need some massive awareness around this. Here's why. Once we move out of this phase and we're starting to the economy frees up, isn't just the white economy, the black economy will free up too, and that means the drugs are going to get back into the country. And what it means is where people are perhaps been using cut and chopped stuff, which are a lot weaker, all of a sudden they're going to have a bunch of heavy drugs that are a lot stronger. This is going to cause overdose and deaths. These guys are caught up in trauma. That's what they're using for trauma. We wouldn't want people who are caught up in trauma to die, would we? Absolutely not. So there needs to be a whole thing around awareness for support for people caught up in that drugs. And that awareness actually isn't just about those caught up in the addiction. It's about the addiction causes damage around the family and the wider communities. Informing the wider communities and families that there is support and help out there. So let's get that done. We can do that ourselves by having this conversation and widening this conversation so that other people become aware. So hit the like button, hit the share button, put a comment in. Am I right? Am I wrong? Should we not bother? Or should we do something? What are your stories? What have you heard out there on the streets? What do you know about it? Put it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. But importantly, please like, share and pass the conversation around so it becomes a much bigger and wider conversation, and then raises awareness. That's the bit that you can do. Like and share. Okay, guys, I love you all. I'm going to leave you to it now. But until next time, stay safe.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. No matter what.